Alright, next up we have Jigglypuff. Alright, we're going to be taking a look at some interesting facts about Jigglypuff. So for Jigglypuff's information, her weight is 5.5 kilograms, her height is 0.5 meters, she is a normal type and a fairy type. Her abilities are Cute Charm or Competitive, and Friend Guard, which is its hidden ability. Her catch rate is 170, which is also 32.4%. It evolves from Igglybuff when leveled up with High Friendship, and evolves into Wigglytuff when exposed to a Moonstone. And for her entry, Jigglypuff's vocal cords can freely adjust the wavelength of its voice. This Pokemon uses this ability to sing at precisely the right wavelength to make its foes most drowsy. So, it looks like most of the foes might not be able to handle Jigglypuff's singing because they'll be put to sleep. Now, when it comes to Jigglypuff being in the Super Smash Bros. Series, she has some pretty good movesets. So, in Super Smash Bros. On the Nintendo 64, Jigglypuff is a playable character, but it must be unlocked by clearing the one-player mode with any character. Jigglypuff is one of the best recoveries in the game, and can use its low-power aerial attacks to combo larger and heavier opponents easily, but it also is the lightest character and thus very easy to knock off the stage. And Jigglypuff shares the Saffron City stage with Pikachu because they're the only Pokemon characters that are playable. And Jigglypuff's special B button moves are Pound, its neutral special, B without directional input, a basic lunging strike, Sing, its up special, which causes opponents to fall asleep, and Rest, its down special, which will send a foe flying if they are close enough, but if it misses, Jigglypuff is very vulnerable. So it looks like you better make sure that the Rest comes in contact with an opponent, or else you're gonna leave yourself in trouble there. So Jigglypuff appears once again in Super Smash Bros. Melee, but this time there were a few changes. Jigglypuff appears again in the sequel, Super Smash Bros. Melee, but like the first game, it must be unlocked first by completing Classic Mode with any character. It shares the Pokemon Stadium with Pikachu, Mewtwo, and Pichu. Jigglypuff's Pound attack is moved to its side B attack, and instead, Rollout is Jigglypuff's new B attack. When the player holds B, Jigglypuff will begin to charge. It can be let go at any time, though the longer it is charged, the stronger the attack will be. The move is sometimes hard to control, and sometimes it will leave Jigglypuff in a helpless state, so you better make sure you have control of that move. And Jigglypuff has a combination of attributes, fast aerial movement, quick and strong aerial attacks, and multiple jumps that give it very strong aerial combat abilities, while Rest can end an opponent's stock at surprisingly early percentages and can be combed into with little chance of escape against fast-falling characters. On the other hand, many characters find it easy to KO Jigglypuff due to its light weight, and its grounded attacks are poor in speed. So it looks like you better make sure you watch out for any enemies when you're playing as Jigglypuff there. So Jigglypuff appears again in Super Smash Bros. Brawl, but this time there are some more changes. Jigglypuff appears again in Super Smash Bros. Brawl and must be unlocked. The player can unlock Jigglypuff through the Adventure Mode, the Subspace Emissary, which Jigglypuff plays no major role in like the other characters. Jigglypuff receives a Final Smash Puff-Up, which makes Jigglypuff grow to a giant state, knocking out players that come too close to it. And after a short amount of time, Jigglypuff shrinks back down into normal size. So it looks like Jigglypuff has one of the funniest Final Smashes out of all of the Pokemon characters. And Jigglypuff remains mostly unchanged from Melee to Brawl, possessing strong aerial combat while being slow and weak on the ground. It is mostly the game that changed around it. The lower falling speeds of all characters improved other characters' aerial abilities, reducing Jigglypuff's relative advantage. Rest has also been substantially weakened and can no longer be used for surprise KOs at low percentages. However, the opponent can gain a flower on their head, which can be pretty useful when you're playing in stamina mode. And for her role in the Subspace Emissary, Jigglypuff, just like with Wolf and Toon Link, has no real role in the Subspace Emissary. After the player defeats Taboo, Jigglypuff becomes unlockable by going halfway through the swamp area to find a secret door. Through that door, Jigglypuff appears dancing on the Pokemon Stadium 2. The player then must defeat Jigglypuff in battle to unlock it. So it looks like you'll have to do all of that in order to unlock Jigglypuff. Jigglypuff also appears in Super Smash Bros. On the Wii U and 3DS, but she hasn't changed much since Brawl. But there are a few things about Jigglypuff, is that although it wasn't known until the 3DS game was released in Japan, Jigglypuff once again returns as an unlockable character in Super Smash Bros. For the Nintendo 3DS. Its unlock requirements are less strict than in Brawl, requiring only 120 versus matches or collecting 30 unique styles of equipment. So that's pretty cool that you don't have to do really strict as in Brawl. It looks like Jigglypuff might be a little bit easier to unlock. And Jigglypuff is one of the select unlockable characters of the 3DS version that is available by default in Super Smash Bros. For the Wii U. So that is pretty cool. And notably, Jigglypuff's Rest regains a lot of its previous power, and the charge on its rollout can be cancelled. Many of its regular attacks also deal slightly more damage, however Pound carries less forward momentum, which is pretty disappointing for Pound. I mean, Jigglypuff's moveset is pretty cool, that it's the same in Super Smash Bros. Brawl. And finally, Jigglypuff appears in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. So Jigglypuff returned in Ultimate, where it was once again an unlockable character by default. Jigglypuff is the 15th character to be unlocked, but it can potentially be unlocked earlier via Kirby's Unlock Ladder in Classic Mode, or finding and defeating its fighter icon on the overworld of World of Light on the route past Sheik. So it looks like you'll have to do that in order to unlock Jigglypuff. And in Classic Mode, well, Jigglypuff's Classic Mode route is called All Original, All 64, because it's named after the N64 characters that are unlocked in that game. And in it, it fights the original 12 characters, including unlockable characters, of the first Super Smash Bros., and all battle are fought on stages from the original game. The final round is a reference to the giant Donkey Kong mini-boss from the original game's one-player game. So that was pretty cool that they made giant Donkey Kong a final boss, but it's pretty cool to have Jigglypuff have a classic mode like this. Now when it comes to Jigglypuff being in the spin-off games, Jigglypuff has appeared in Detective Pikachu. So basically 4 Jigglypuff appeared in Detective Pikachu. One of them was seen singing in a bar that Tim Goodman and Detective Pikachu went to for leads. So as you can see, the man is falling asleep to Jigglypuff's singing. So it looks like Jigglypuff might get really mad and draw on that guy's face. Now when it comes to Jigglypuff being in the TV series, she's made 2 major appearances. So for Jigglypuff in the anime, well, Jigglypuff debuted in the Song of Jigglypuff. From this episode through the end of the original series, it followed Ash and his friends, intent on performing its trademark song without causing its audience to fall asleep. It rarely, if ever, succeeded. Jigglypuff would scribble all over the faces of anyone who fell asleep after hearing the song. After Johto, Jigglypuff started to only appear very rarely, being featured in one early Advanced Generation series episode. After a long absence, Jigglypuff reappeared in Alola Kanto and When Regions Collide, where it was seen sleeping on top of the plane that Ash and his classmates were flying on back to Alola, and made semi-regular appearances in the Sun and Moon series. In Thank You Alola, the journey continues. It was seen boarding the same plane as Ash as he returned to Kanto. So it looks like Jigglypuff has played a major role in the anime, and also a giant Jigglypuff appeared at the end of the ancient puzzle of Pokemolis, where it helped put the giant Gengar and Alakazam to sleep. So it looks like Jigglypuff was a really big help there sometimes. Alright, so here is Jigglypuff's shiny form. So basically for her shiny form, her eyes become a gorgeous emerald color. So it looks so beautiful that you might be able to notice it. So that is a pretty cool change. And here is the QR code if you ever want to register her into Pokemon Sun and Moon or Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. Oh, and here are some other facts that you didn't know about Jigglypuff. Is that Jigglypuff is typically depicted in the Smash Bros. Series, and Ken Sugimori's art with green eyes, and T. Rose pink fur more closely resembling a shiny form. It also appeared with green eyes in Rough Tough Jigglypuff in The Legend of Thunder. So it's pretty interesting that people are debating if the Jigglypuff is shiny in Super Smash Bros. Melee, as well as they're debating if whether Persian is shiny, if Giovanni's Persian is shiny in the anime, because of those pink ears. So that's a pretty cool debate. So it looks like Persian wasn't alone on this one, and Jigglypuff and its evolutionary relatives share their category name with Quillfish and Drifloon. They are all known as the balloon Pokemon, and Jigglypuff has become a slang term based on Jigglypuff. So that is a pretty funny term for Jigglypuff there, but she has some cool information though. Way to go, Jigglypuff!